Welcome to a very special edition of the Neon Jazz interview series. On this edition, we had the honor of interviewing legendary Kansas City post-bop saxophonist Bobby Watson. During a candid conversation, Bobby spoke to Neon Jazz about a life well lived in the jazz world and all the tributaries that have led to his legendary status, especially here in Kansas City. He spoke about his time with the Jazz Messengers and all the sage advice Art Blakey bestowed upon him, the many gigs and musicians he has played over the years, his newest album, Cash Checking Day, in honor of Dr. King's 50th anniversary of his I Have a Dream speech, along with his thoughts on the Renaissance culture of jazz going down here in Kansas City during 2014. He's a musician, an educator, and a great, great guy. He has a lot to say. Dig it, my friends.
Hello.
Mr. Watson, it's Joe Domino with Neon Jazz.
Hi, Joe. How you doing?
Hey, good, man. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I love your ringer. It's great.
Oh, yeah, bird, man.
I dig it. So, the first thing I want to find out about your bio and your lineage, you were born in Lawrence, raised in Bonner Springs. What made you want to go to the University of Miami?
Well, let's see. After Bonner Springs, my father moved us to Minneapolis. So I did junior high and high school in Minneapolis.
Okay.
And after that, we moved back down to Kansas in 1971. And I had a scholarship at a college up there. So I ended up coming back to Kansas City, and I went to 2 years at Kansas City Community College. And during that time, I had met Pat Metheny, and he was going to the University of Miami. And then also I met Clifton Williams, Dr. Clifton Williams, and he was a composition teacher in Miami. And I was set to try to go down to North Texas State, but Pat told me that no, Miami's much hipper. You know, they have the Miami Beach scene, we did gig and stuff. And then meeting Dr. Clifton Williams, you know, and he was at Miami, and Jerry Coker was there at the time, and although he had actually resigned, so when I got down there, he wasn't there, but still, Whit Seidner was there, and all the great teachers that were down there, and it was a great place to go, and it was a heck of a class that we were down there with Bruce Hornsby and the Dixie Dregs. Jocko was in town; he was there. Ira Sullivan, Gil Goldstein, Danny Gottlieb. There were a lot of people there. Curtis Lundy, Carmen Lundy, just so many people that were there, you know, during that time. And it was a really good move. But it was Pat Metheny. You know, I would go to his house, and he was teaching me jazz standards at the time, and we were hanging out listening to records and stuff, and he was going there. And when he'd come home from Christmas break, we'd speak, and he'd tell me how cool Miami was. And it was more combo-orientated than big band.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like a Mecca in South Beach.
Oh, it was something else that time. You know, Mark Colby, I started thinking of the names, Hiram Bullock, you know, just so many folks there that went on to do things. You know, that was a heck of a time to be there.
Absolutely. So let me go back to the beginning of your career. What is your earliest recollection of your first live performance, or in the beginning, what was it like to climb on stage for the first time?
Oh, well, I was in high school. My first, of course, was a talent show. We put a band together for a talent show, and then we really went over real big. And then we got our first paying gig at the YMCA for a dance. All right, because we were doing, I guess we were kind of like pre-fusion. I mean, pre-smooth jazz, because we would take the hits of the day, and I'd play the melodies on my saxophone. We didn't have a vocalist, you know, so I would play the melodies on my saxophone, whether it be James Brown or Marvin Gaye or Gladys Knight or Stevie Wonder. You know, and so we started moving out like that. And then I met this guy, Solomon Hughes, on guitar, who was in the West Montgomery, and I started moving into jazz. more, but I was always improvising out front, trying to be the soloist. And my high school band director, Leonard King, he turned his American. He was our history teacher, and he turned his jazz history course. His American history course into a jazz history course.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, based on your early gigs, how do you approach the stage today versus the way you did when you started out?
Well, when I started out, I was really happy to be there. And I remember the first time I played at some clubs when I got back to Kansas City. I was always happy to be up there, but I didn't get the deep dedication and devotion to the bandstand until I got with Art Blakey. And then how sacred the bandstand is, and you don't bring your troubles up. If you're not feeling good, or you're hungry, or you're tired, you let all that go. If you had a bad day, you leave all your troubles by the side of the bandstand, and when you come up on the bandstand, you're just there to make music, because tomorrow's not promised. And as long as you can walk off that bandstand and give yourself an A for effort, you get another chance to play again. And Absolutely. So that's when it really got deep. So when I go on the bandstand, I guess it's sort of self-hypnosis kind of thing. You get on, you put your neck strap on, and then once the horn's hanging around your neck, you're another person.
Yeah.
You give it your all. If your lip hurts, or it doesn't matter. When you get up there, you just like nothing else matters. Because Art used to get up there, when he started playing, he didn't really care about us. He listened to us and played with us, but when he got up there, he was up there for him.
Yeah.
And he would just look to the sky and start playing them drums, and then you either had to get on board or get left behind.
So what is it that Art really taught you about life and music? What's the most important things he taught you?
Well, that your horn is your offense and defense against life, or with life, and also that how to read the audience, how you're going to start off your set, or your show. Are you going to start off big, or are you going to start off soft and build? Are you going to hit them over the head first and then go down? The pacing and the arc of a show, and also how to time the show, also how to be an artist, how to greet people, and how to embrace people, And it didn't matter whether you thought they were a good person or not. As an artist, it's like a finishing school. Like they send, the NBA guys and the professional athletes, when they draft them out of college, they go to this school. They got the old pros there, and they teach them how to sign autographs and how to deal with the public. And so I learned all that from Art too, how to deal with the public and how and still keep your sovereignty when you come off the bandstand. Because I learned from Art, when you come off the bandstand, don't go directly into the crowd. Go straight back to the dressing room. If there's no dressing room, go in the bathroom and go in a stall and just shut the door and just decompress, because you need that time to think about what you just did and what you just played. And then after you decompress, then you reemerge into the crowd,
Right on.
Like that, the ritual of it. Mm-hmm.
So your latest album, which I love, Cash Checking Day, is a tribute in honor of the 50th year anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King's March on Washington. Great CD. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, I wanted to make a statement record, and it's almost like an opera, or a play in 15 acts, and to make a statement and use spoken word for the first time. I've done some of them songs on the CD before, like Dark Days and 40 Acres and a Mule, but without the spoken word. And I've done, in my titles, Blues of Hope. Those have been socially conscious titles with the themes, but with the words added to some of them, it it illuminated it. And I think what it has done is given the CD a life outside of just being a jazz record.
Yeah.
Because we're probably going to do some historical black college tours, and we're going to, the NAACP is in town this week, and they want me to go on the air and talk about the record. And so I'm getting invitations to perform this so that the young people can hear this and hear the story. A lot of it's metaphor. Some of it's humorous. Some of it's like Playing the Dozens, like My Song, where he talks about that, a young man going through and getting the hoses sprayed on him, and he told the mutt to go fetch, when they sicked the tag dogs on him, and the Klan tried to burn a cross on my lawn, but I went out and had a barbecue.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like that. And you got Dark Days, which started during the apartheid era. That's when I wrote that song, when Nelson was still in jail.
Yeah.
But then that song Dark Days kept coming back during the Balkans, and then during the different conflicts around the world, the song keeps coming back. And so Glenn North, we talked about it. He put some words to it, and I wanted to let him do his thing from his perspective too. But I just told him what I was trying to do is to make a statement in honor of the 50th anniversary, which, by the way, when they talk about the speech, they always talk about the I Have a Dream part, which he had done a month earlier in Detroit.
Yeah.
And actually, as I researched it, he had probably been working on that. He'd done it maybe 8 or 9 times before. And so that part was not originally part of his speech. The bulk of his speech was about the moral check that was written by the founders of the country, that all men are created equal and deserve inalienable rights. That was the moral check that was written, and those people came to Washington today to cash that check, which Martin said in his speech had come up insufficient funds.
Right on.
So they never really talk about that part of the speech. They always, when they talk about the March on Washington, they go right to the last part of the speech, which was improv, because Mahalia Jackson was egging him on, saying, "Tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream." So he went into it because she had heard it before.
Yeah.
And so he went into that, and that's how it finished. And that's when they talk about that speech. They never talk about the bulk of what that speech was.
Right. Sure.
And that's why check cashing day is relating to the 95% of the speech that we really don't talk about. And you can't really see that speech.
Yeah.
They played it once on the day of the anniversary of the march on MSNBC, because they had to get the rights to that.
Yeah.
The only thing that's free for everybody is to see the I Have a Dream part. But you have to get permission from the estate to broadcast the entire speech.
Yeah.
He went right after that speech. They went like right across the street and copyrighted it.
Wow. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I learned a lot. You know? And they were young people too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
Gosh, they were in their late 20s, and they were in their 20s, and 'cause Martin didn't make it to 40. I mean, these guys were young people, and they had such purpose.
Yeah.
And another thing, so I'm just all this I want to try to get out to the young people. You can do something, expect change. It's not about drive-by shootings and gangs and stuff. And you got to read your history and realize what a glorious history that the African American culture has given to this country, so that you have some pride and realize what young people did. Those were all young people in their 20s, 30s when they did this. And so it's like the young people get a little bit complacent because, we don't have to eat at separate counters and drink in separate water fountains and all that kind of stuff. We're there. Everybody's got a fair chance to make it now. But the struggle is not over yet. And now it's including Latinos and Native Americans, and, it's just grown in Gandhi, what he went through, and Mandela. It's just, it's just what it is. It continues, Because
Absolutely.
when Martin was marching and doing this, everybody going, "What do you want? You guys aren't slaves anymore. You're free." and nobody, it's like, what do you want? And so then I go, we got a black president now, but what do you want? Well, it's not over.
Right.
And it's not that we're angry or nothing. It's just like, no, it's not over yet.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
Not over.
So, speaking of youth and opportunity, you are overseeing what I would consider a renaissance in Kansas City jazz, a scene that's thriving. How does it feel to be a part of that, bringing people like Herman Mahari to Kansas City and watching that grow? What is that like?
It's amazing. I mean, our students are like part of the fabric of the jazz community, and fortunately, they've been embraced by the older generation, and they use them a lot to inspire them, which is like a natural occurrence, because the reason Art Blakey had his jazz messengers, because he surrounded himself with young people to inspire him. Yeah. And so it's happening here in Kansas City that the older musicians are hiring the young ones because they learn the music, they're enthusiastic, they show up on time, they give their all, and it inspires them to impart their knowledge and their wisdom and their experiences by way of their music onto these young people. So we have a genuine exchange of ideas and sharing between the generations going on here in Kansas City now. And it's amazing. It's beyond my wildest dreams.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's a great scene. One thing, too, that you've played with so many people throughout the years. What have you taken from what you've experienced on and off stage as a man and a jazz guy and given to your students?
The most positive band director band leader I worked with was Art Blakey, and he loved young people. And I got that love myself. And also, I've learned that to let them give them guidance, but let them go. Let them fly and be themselves.
Yeah.
But you have to give them guidance. Art used to say, there's nothing wrong with being young. You just need a little guidance. Because some of the older folks would be down on the young people. He goes, no, ain't nothing wrong with being young. You just need some guidance.
Yeah.
And that's what they're there for. And so I learned that from him, and I try to take that into the classroom and get with what they're doing. Because, Art went to see Purple Rain before I did. Yeah. With Prince. He goes, man, have you seen Prince's Purple Rain? I'm like, what? And after the gig, man, he would get into a car. We'd be in Europe somewhere. He'd jump into a car with some young folks, man. We'd head out to the disco, man. He'd be out there dancing with the young folks. Or we'd go to a jazz club, man, and we would be hanging out around the wall in the jazz club trying to be New York cool. And next thing you know, Art's down there with the local musicians. He's on the stage with them.
Right on.
Waving, and he's waving us up to the stage. Come on, get your horn out.
That's a great story. So,
for something else.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So, what's the nicest thing a fan has ever said to you?
Maybe a couple things. Your song, or the way you played that song, made me cry. Mm-hmm. Or that song was the song we played at our wedding. Or the song you wrote. I had a young man who committed suicide, and that's a suicide note, and he wanted one of my tracks played at his funeral.
Wow!
Even to that extent, and also when fans say, "Man, I heard the song on the radio, and when I heard your sound, I knew it was you."
Yeah.
I said, "That's got to be Bobby. That's Bobby." So when people can identify me by my sound, I think that's a high praise.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So, with your clout, your years, your wisdom in jazz and in life, you're a jazz force. And what inspires you to do that? I mean, a lot of people live their lives out and don't get this shot and take it like you have. What makes you go?
I think that I love music. The music I play is called jazz, but I love music, and I can't live without it. I'm addicted to music, and I just need it, and it's the way that I express myself. I'm not a politician. I'm not an athlete, but I'm a musician, and I have this need to express my inner emotions, things that I can't put into words, through my music, and I just love to try to affect people. Like Art says, music is supposed to wash away the dust of everyday life. And so I'm really committed to that, and also trying to uplift the musicians around me, and make them play at a higher level, because I'm striving, and it's just it's vital to me. I mean, when I play my horn each day, it lets me know how I feel, what kind of day I'm having, you know, and it's sort of my health barometer, what kind of day I'm having.
Yeah.
And so it's just I can't separate it from rain, the season changes, the sounds of birds, and everything just relates to music. And so it's all consuming for me now.
Right on. So as a leader, you've recorded 26 plus albums. Out of all of those albums, and you sit back and think about all of them, which one really strikes a very fond spot in your heart?
Well, I would say there's a few maybe. Love Remains. That was John Hicks on piano, Curtis Lundy on bass, Marvin Smitty Smith on drums. That got into the Penguin Guide of Jazz as a core collection, something that's essential for any jazz collector to have. I'm very proud of that one. Post Motown Bop on Blue Note with Melton Mustafa and Carol Dashfield, Edward Simon, and Victor Lewis. That was a really important one. The Inventor, because I used a little bit of synth on that one, and I was trying to. I felt that was kind of I thought that was a little bit of a groundbreaker, because I wasn't trying to go electric. I was just trying to add another color and use the synth as orchestration, because the sounds at that time were getting more natural and better. And I think Midwest Shuffle, the live record with Horizon, and also Taylor Made, the big band.
Yeah. Right on. So let me ask you this. What's left to accomplish for you?
I want to do a record with strings. I would like to have my music placed in movies. I would like to see more of my music choreographed with dancers. I would just like the music to spread outside of what they call the jazz world, and have the music be part of people's memories, and so that they would like to take the music and do other things with my music.
Right on.
And write more big band charts and just keep trying to get better.
Right on. Has jazz made the world a better place?
Yes, it has. Absolutely. I'm a witness to that. I mean, we travel all around the world at other people's expense, making people feel good. And we are invited to play. Wherever we go, we're there by invitation. So we have an obligation to lift people's spirits. And jazz, with Dizzy, Louis Armstrong, our earliest ambassadors that went around the world. I mean, I think Louis had an ambassador status, you know. And so the government realizes that jazz is the world language of today. I've been around musicians that we can't even really communicate with each other except on stage, you know, because I don't speak Italian, or I don't speak Japanese or German, but we get on stage and that music is like our musical handshake and our hug, and we get together, man, we share things. So I believe it from the bottom of my heart that jazz has and is making the world a better place.
Right on. Let me ask you this. What is the greatest thing about Kansas City?
It's interesting. I think the thing about Kansas City is that it was an open town under Pendergast. And we had over 500 jazz clubs here at one time. And, you know, it was during Prohibition, and it was an open town. And it gave the musicians a chance to develop. They called Kansas City the Paris of the Plains. And I think Kansas City was the precursor to what Las Vegas is back then. Before Las Vegas, it was Kansas City. And that was a really fertile environment. And also the church out here in Kansas City. A lot of musicians from Kansas City played in church. And I think that's a very important thing to mention about being from the Midwest is how heavy the church is. We're in the Bible Belt, as they call it. And there's been many great musicians. I've heard some of the greatest musicians in church. And some of them stay in the church, and the other ones have ventured out and became commercial artists, you know. But they all have this church root. And, of course, the barbecue is fantastic here. Mm-hmm. But musically, I think the environment is like one of an open environment, you know. We honk it. Not so much anymore, but back in the day, if somebody was driving the same car as you, you'd honk, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's a real open, friendly place. And I think that Kansas City is unique because this is where swing started.
Yeah.
This is where swing, the Moulton Swing, written by Benny Moulton and his brother Buster. That was the first time Joe Wilson told me this, that they had the word swing in the title, Moulton Swing.
Cool. And
they had the 4/4 on the bass instead of the 2. The actual walking bass was started here, and it grew up here. The jazz really grew up here and moved out. With Count Basie and the riffs and all the cutting sessions, and you know, it really, like Congressman Cleaver said when he was mayor, he used to say, "Well, jazz was born in New Orleans, but it grew up in Kansas City."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And from there, it just spread. You know.
Right on. Man, that's a perfect way to end this interview. Bobby, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joe. Look forward to meeting you one of these days.
Oh, without a doubt. In fact, I saw you play at Broadway Jazz with Herman during Chuck Haddock's Bird book signing.
You were there?
Yeah, I was there. I ducked in with my son.
All right, well, thank you, Joe.
Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Take care.
Thanks for listening and tuning into a very special Neon Jazz interview session where we give you a bit of insight into the legends that have given us all that jazz. And thanks to the legendary Bobby Watson for his time, determination, and love of Kansas City jazz. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store, or you can visit theneonjazz.blogspot.com for all things neon jazz. Until next time, enjoy the music, my friends.
Neon Jazz.